Welcome inside the RXMuscle studios in Westbury, New York, where we will never, ever stop believing. This is going to be an exciting episode of Iron Debate, RXMuscle.com, presented by Species Nutrition. You may wonder why we're playing this song in particular. Well, this happens to be the favorite song of our guest tonight on the show. We are talking about the uncrowned champion of the 212 division, the Boston Mass, Mr. Jose Raymond. Let's welcome him in. Jose, welcome to Iron Debate. Welcome to the RX Muscle community.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. This is the Boston Mass, ready to debate your ass.
I love it. I love it. That's how you make an intro into Iron Debate. He is going to be opposed by the man they call the technician, Chris Aceto. Chris, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, but I'm on edge. I don't get nervous for any bodybuilding shows, but when I'm going to debate the Boston Mass, I get nervous because, you know, besides having the best body in the 212s, he's got the edgiest mind as well, so he's quick. And I don't know if I can match wits with him.
You'll be fine. Let's welcome in studio with me, as always, the boss, Dave Palumbo, on the final word. Dave, a lot of anticipation behind this episode. We're already getting questions rolling in for Jose Raymond.
Well, you know, there might be a battle. The biggest battle of the night will be who is the most sarcastic of the panelists, myself, Chris, or Jose Raymond. And it's a very close triple. When we text each other, I don't know who's more caustic on the texting. But I will say one thing. Jose's got a great sense of humor. So the joke on the fact that he lost his contract with MD, it might not be so traumatic towards him. Although I do hear, Jose, that you got a phone call from your former boss today.
I did. He just wanted to, make sure the door didn't hit me in the ass on the way out. You just wanted to, say hello and, let me know you appreciated all my hard work and everything, and that maybe things will work out in the future. But for now, I'm here on Iron Debate.
That's right.
Absolutely. MD's loss is RX Muscle's gain. This is the format. All debate, no agreements. If you want to get involved in the conversation, you can tweet us using the hashtag RXDebate. First question of the night. We are going to go right into the heart of the 212 division and talk about the reigning champion, Flex Lewis. So, Jose, we're going to stick it right to you on this first one. Flex Lewis, can he be beaten in the 212 division?
Hell yes. That's what I said when I heard the questions ahead of time. Yeah, he's a human being. He was arguably beaten a few times. I understand you got to knock out the champ to beat him, but yes, he's shown that he is human, and he's got some kinks in his armor. And I may be 7, 8, 9 years older than him, but I'm still getting better. So if he messes up, and I can definitely come in and take him out. Yes, he's very beatable. And I've beaten him before. So I'm very confident. I'm one of the few who has beaten him before. I'm very confident that I can do it again.
Jose, I want to get your thoughts on the 2014 Olympia. How convinced were you by him winning it all in Vegas?
Well, I knew you had to knock him out. Flex has certain things. Chris and I have spoken about it before, that just standing there, he looks like the champ. But as you break it down and you look at pose by pose, there are certain things that start to, make you wonder, wow, he isn't really winning that shot. Just standing there, when he walks on stage, he's a clear champion. But as he starts to pose, things get closer and closer and closer. So I felt that, Eduardo and I both out-conditioned him. I believe that. Aside from just having beautiful structure and tie-ins and stuff like that, bodybuilding's more than that. So to make it more exciting, if he gets beat, they should let him get beat. You know, the next show will be even more exciting. You know, where he isn't superhuman. He can get beaten, and you know, I can tell you, he's going to be on his A game the next time because he knows in his heart that we were right up his ass.
Let's go over now to the technician, Flex Lewis. Can he be beaten in the 212 division?
Well, Sadiq, Sid, if we have to really battle with Jose, can I take a timeout and use as a tag team?
You want a 20-second
I wanted to tag John De La Rosa, who also got axed. Run over to my corner. I'll either tag him or John or Derek Farnsworth or Django, Cedric McMillan. I get like the whole crew I work with. We've all been axed. I used to work for them, and I was axed, Dave. So
That's you are. You are.
Can Flex Lewis be beat? You know what? Here's what I looked up the score sheets from the last 3 years, and I'm convinced he can't. He's got all fives every round, everything, quarter turns, muscularity, symmetry, you know, presentation, all five. So how do you battle that? I mean, how do you battle that when you get all first place votes? You know, I'm playing devil's advocate, but all first place votes all the time, every time, always. What do you have to do to beat that?
Well, can you argue that he did look vulnerable when you consider, obviously, Jose Raymond and the wild card and all this, Eduardo Correa, who are breathing down his neck? So from that perspective, with the competition tightening up in the 212 division.
Well, the apologists will say, and I'll be on their team for this debate, that, you know, the balance, the symmetry, the presentation, it as a symphony, you know, amongst itself, it overwhelms the pure density and muscularity of Eduardo and Jose. How's that?
That works.
Dave, you asked if I was going to be sarcastic, Dave.
It's going to be a sarcastic competition between
So
the three of you.
I'm looking at the scores, and I see that every year nobody can even lay a glove on Flex Lewis. So by definition, can he be beat? No.
Before we go to the second part of this question, I want to bring Dave Palumbo in on this, get the final word on this part of the conversation. Can Flex Lewis, Dave, be beaten in the 212 division?
Well, you know, the conventional wisdom would be to say that anyone could be beaten. I mean, obviously, Flex Lewis can come in with one lat smaller than the other, like Ronnie Coleman did because he got injured, and Jay Cutler beat him. Having said the fact that Flex Lewis is still relatively young, it probably is unlikely that that's going to happen unless, you know, he just gets unlucky and tears something, you know, in the gym. Assuming he doesn't, Chris is probably right. He probably won't be beat in the 212. Obviously, he was off this year noticeably, and he still won. I have to believe that next year he's going to come in perfect because he's certainly not going to let the same thing happen that happened this year. You know, personally, I thought Jose beat him in Korea. So, you know, but obviously the judges have accepted Flex Lewis's physique as Mr. Olympia. I think for the near future, I don't think he will be beat. The real question is what the second part of the question is going to address. Will he go to the Open? And I guess that's a good segue for you.
Well, I just wanted to go right back to the point that you made. And, Jose, I'm going to direct the question to you. Do you think you beat Flex Lewis in Korea?
Yeah. I think I beat him at the Olympia. I think I beat him in Korea. I think I beat him in Prague. But, you know, I'm not a judge. When I come in at my all-time best and not only hold it for 3 weeks in a row, but make slight improvements each time, and I slowly see him getting worse, then what does that tell you? I mean, at some point, I think I beat him, sure. But I can see, as Chris said, where other people would argue. He's Flex Lewis, and he looks outrageous. So, whatever. I'm not a judge, but in my mind, as I'm getting better and he's not getting better over those weeks, sure, I think I beat him.
Jose, let's go to the second part of this discussion now. Word is that Flex Lewis has a short lifespan in the 212 division, that his aspirations are to go to the open division maybe as soon as 2016. How do you see him faring in the open division?
I see him faring just as well as I would fare. He would win some smaller shows, the Europa, something like that. But when it comes down to the Arnold or the Olympia, I mean, the very best I could see would be like a 6, like a Ronnie Raquel did one year. You know, and that's not what Flex wants. He wants to be number one in the world. And I would never give up being number one in the world to shoot for a top 6, top 10 placing. So not only do I think that it wouldn't be a good idea, I don't think he'll do it.
So
no way.
Let's assume that he does do it. He goes to the open, and like you just said, his ceiling might be a 6th place finish, might be a 7th place finish at a big show. In his mind, put yourself in his shoes, is it worth it?
No, because he can be like Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather can't beat, the super heavyweight champion of the world, but he's still marketing and making more money than anyone in the world, being a flyweight or whatever the hell he is,
Welterweight.
I like the comparison. Technician, let's go over to you. Again, the word is that Flex Lewis is going to go open maybe as early as 2016. How do you see him doing in the open division?
Well, I don't know if I'm supposed to be debating here. Meaning Jose, but I'll answer good and bad. I think that's what Jose did. So my good is that he can compete in the open, but he's not my favorite bodybuilder. But here, close your eyes. Kai Green.
Rodin.
The Golden Child. I already forgot his name. Jose calls him the Golden Child.
Phil Heath?
Flex Lewis.
Oh,
Flex Lewis.
Oh.
No. Flex Lewis, Kai Green. I mean, it's like, it's like coffee and tea. I mean, it's like, it's not even apples and oranges. There is a big separation between Kai Green and a lot of bodybuilders. So to carry off what Jose said, if you want to be the best in the world, you got to think about people like Kai Green, who, if he's on or when he's on, when he comes in on, he's freaky, and it takes a lot of muscle to compete against.
Right, Chris. That's a valid point, but I think to Jose's point, perhaps Flex isn't thinking, all right, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to go to a big show and finish top 3. Maybe he's thinking, my ceiling is a top 6 finish, top 7, but just to be on that same stage, do you think that's something that's a viable option for him?
6 could be a viable option. It's a bad viable option, if you ask me. Right? Yeah. I mean, do you want to stand up there and say in 6th place and then go to the party after, and you can go to the party after, not that I've ever been, but whatever the after party or whatever the official Olympia event is after, and people high-fiving you like you're the champ, like you Phil Heath, and you get to put on like the $1,000 suit like you Phil Heath, and everyone treats you like Phil Heath. But when you get 6th place, they're like, oh yeah, you're the 6th place guy, and then the fans come up and say, you look great, man. And just as you expect them to say, I had you higher, they go like, but so-and-so should have beaten you. So it's tough to swallow.
Jose, I want to bring you back into this conversation. Let's say your plan was to, or rather you were deciding between going open, staying 212. You had a better chance of finishing top 3 in the 212, but maybe you saw an opportunity to finish top 7 in the open division. In that scenario, do you think it's worth it, given what Chris just painted right now?
No. As I was going to interrupt and say, I know Flex very well. And like myself, he don't get out of bed in the morning for 6th place. I don't go to a show. I don't train for 4 or 5 months for a show knowing that 6th place is my goal. Hell no. So even if the money was more in sixth place,
That was going to be my next question about the money.
you know, it very well may be. I'm pretty sure it is that sixth place is still a higher payday than the 212 winner, but it would mean more to me to be the number one 212 in the world than to be sixth. So no, and I don't think Flex. I know Flex don't train for sixth place, so it's not a good idea. Period.
Let's go to
He's
Dave.
not going to win. He's not going to beat Phil. He's not going to beat Kai. He's not going to beat Roden. He's not going to beat, I mean, if you compared 100% on 240-pound John De La Rosa, does he even beat John De La Rosa, who comes in 14th? You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. I mean, it is some great bodybuilders in the top 10 that he, myself, Eduardo would all have a tough time standing next to. So before he even thinks about Phil Heath and Kai Green, he's got to consider an on Kuklo, an on De La Rosa, Justin Compton. The list goes on. I don't know. I think the 212 is where it's at, where it needs to be. And don't let anyone kid you. He's not having trouble making weight. Okay? He's 208 pounds, 210 pounds. I've been there. I weigh in with him. He's still got 3 or 4 pounds to grow and still make weight.
Jose,
So-
let me get you on record then. Yes or no, in 2016, is Flex Lewis in the open division?
Maybe for fun, not at the Olympia.
All right, let's get Dave in for the final word on this one. Let's assume that Flex is indeed going open. How do you see him faring in the open division?
Well, let me say this, because I was been analyzing what Jose and Chris have been saying, and I'm thinking, who is the best comparison to Flex Lewis? Who would be the best guy, like the best guy I've ever seen in that weight range? And I have to say, it would probably be Lee Priest at his best. Lee Priest was just a freak. I mean, he won the Ironman Pro, never cracked the top 3 at the Olympia. And he was amazing. And I don't know if Flex Lewis is actually better than Lee Priest. I think that Lee Priest might have been a better bodybuilder than Flex Lewis, or the comparison's close. So, taking that under consideration and taking into consideration that Lee Priest competed against better guys probably in his heyday, I don't think that Flex Lewis can win a show. No, not a big show. Maybe, a show where the lineup is a little weak. But he's not going to beat, like Jose said, Justin Compton. He's not going to beat Dennis Wolf. He's certainly not going to beat, Roden or Phil Heath or Kai Green. So we got him down to under 6th place now. So he's got to figure that
Ramy
out.
was 7th. Is he going to beat Ramy?
Yeah, he probably won't beat Ramy, and he might not beat what's his name, like Dexter Jackson. I don't think he'll beat. And so I don't see him, taking a shot at going into the open division, knowing that his stock is gonna go way, way down. I mean, look at Lee Priest in this video. Flex Lewis doesn't have that freakiness that Priest had, and Priest still couldn't win the Olympia. So I say Flex will use that. I might do the open division rhetoric to get the fans excited about it, but I don't think he'll actually ever make the move.
So, Dave, you're on record saying that Flex Lewis is staying in 212 for the foreseeable future.
I mean, he might not, but that would be my recommendation to him. Do the analysis of what I just did. I mean, he'd be crazy to go against that.
Watching Iron Debate on RXMuscle.com, sponsored by Species Nutrition. Try the cinnamon donut flavor Isolized, available at speciesnutrition.com. If you want to get involved in the conversation, tweet your questions or thoughts using hashtag RXDebate. The questions are already rolling in. We move on now to our next topic. Well, this is a very heavy Northeast corridor broadcast. We have New York, Portland, and of course, Boston represented. So here is the question. Boston and East Coast bodybuilders, do they just train harder than everybody else? Jose, what say you?
100%, yes. This is something I've had talks with Jay Cutler about, talks with Evan about. We wake up in the morning and sometimes we got 2 feet of snow, and we got 15 degrees, and we still got to trek to the gym. We got to dig ourselves out. We got to make it to the gym to go do cardio, to go train. You know, where these pansies out in L.A. are sleeping till noon, and when the fog burns off, and then they go in there, 75, 80 degrees, you know, that's bullshit. You know, I got to get up and dig myself to the gym. Yeah, we train harder. Everything we do is harder. Our entire lifestyle is harder. So, yeah, it's a blue-collar area, Boston, New Jersey, New York. And I don't know where the line of East Coast cuts out, but, you know, Mike Francois, one of the hardest training guys on earth, was in Columbus, Ohio, and that shithole down there, too. So, you know, you can't help but be a harder trainer. Like I said, everything's harder. You know, there's a few exceptions to the rule. I think Texas is similar in that they got to train in that awful 120-degree weather. And when it's cold there, it's cold. So, but when you talk in L.A. and Vegas, those guys, come on. They're pansies.
So, Chris Aceto, the West Coast has officially been called out. Your thoughts, whether or not Boston and East Coast, I know we're talking Boston here, but East Coast bodybuilders, do they just train harder than everybody else?
I don't know if the Boston bodybuilders have a monopoly on training hard. Jose just stole my one litmus test, which is Mike Francois. So I had to come up with others. I got Dorian. Dorian's got a pretty, you know, he's not from Boston. Coleman's not from Boston. Branch Warren, Johnny Jackson. Let's see, who else is out there?
I gave Texas the exception.
Gabe Moen.
Yeah. This is true.
So Jose regionalized it. Boston and the adopted
Texas, exactly.
Yeah.
I think those are the names I came up to. It's hard to debate. I told you it was going to be hard to, you know, it's easy to debate Rich Piana and Lonnie Tipa. But like I said, going up against Jose Raymond, it's a little bit harder. So those are the names. Did I include Lee Haney? He won a few Olympias. I think he trains hard.
Yeah, he's East Coast.
He's East Coast.
Atlanta.
Oh,
exactly.
East Coast. Are we talking Boston or East Coast? So the East Coast is a big, you know, Georgia's pretty easy, man. That's an easy lifestyle compared to. Let's see what Dave has to say, because he's a hard trainer.
Jose, since, again, you've talked up the Boston scene, what separates Boston from the rest of the East Coast scene as far as the bodybuilders are concerned?
Well, I'll tell you this. I grew up during a time where you had Mike Matarazzo, you had Paul DeMeo, I had a good friend of mine named Steve Cantone, and a host of other guys, my brother, Tito Raymond, who everyone squatted. It was like every single one of these people had crazy legs, every one of them. And the squat, as we know, is an exercise that men do, you know. I go on vacation to Los Angeles and Venice. That's why it's called a vacation, because I go out there to train like a wuss. I come home to train and squat and deadlift and train like an animal. And there's just there's something about these guys that I grew up watching. You know, my brother and I, we used to squat 315 for 30 reps, and people would look at us like we were retarded. And we did it for fun, just to try to outdo each other. And that was when I was 17 years old. You know, we did things that were just wacky, and it paid off in the long run. And I just look at some of the guys I grew up watching and had some of the craziest work ethic in the gym, and their bodies speak for themselves.
So, Chris, I'm going to give you a chance here maybe to defend the West Coast contingent who are right now watching and no doubt steaming at the allegations of them being wusses and going over there to train as a vacation.
I was going to, you know what, I had a name and it was going to nullify everything that the Boston Massacre, I call him the Boston Massacre after the 2014 prejudging of the 212 Olympia. Not Boston Boston Massacre. Anyways, I was going to say, Jose, Brad Rowe, stick it up your ass, Boston Massacre, but then I realized he's from New Hampshire.
Exactly.
Which he's from like a suburb of Boston.
It proves my point. Brad
I know,
grew up
so
about
I
a
think
half hour
losing.
from where I live.
I'm losing
So,
what do I
that
do,
proves
Johnny?
my
I'm losing
point.
the debate. This is why I said I got to get De La Rosa and Farnsworth and Django in as backups for me. I should do a lifeline call to Cedric McMillan.
Wait,
Should I call
there's
him up,
another
Dave,
one.
and get him on the
There's another
on
one
the
out
phone?
there in the West Coast that trains like a beast. He can squat
What's that?
500 for 20 reps. His name's Derek Farnsworth. But oh yeah, he's from Massachusetts.
He's from Boston too. Can you believe?
Come on, man. This shouldn't even be a question.
Yo, I want to get Dave in on this. Dave, what do you have to say about East Coast bodybuilders and bodybuilders from the Boston area compared to the rest of the country?
You know, I'm still chuckling, Chris, from when Jose said, "My brother and I." It sounded like when Steve Blackman used to say, "My brother and I." No, but to be honest, I was trying to think I was making a list of bodybuilders on the West Coast that may train hard. And like you said, most of them are transplants. Farnsworth, Brad Rowe, I had them on my list. The Barbarian brothers, David and Peter Paul, originally from Rhode Island. So also in the New England area. The only bodybuilder I actually still have on my list that's a West Coast bodybuilder is the Big Sexy. And I don't know if he really counts, but he is a West Coast bodybuilder. I don't know how hard he trains, but I assume he trains probably hard. This is a true story. Back in 1994, I went out to Venice Gold, and for the very first time, and that's when Flex Wheeler was out there, and Rico, and Cormier, and the whole, it was like the heyday Matarazzo. And I actually, stayed out there for about a week or two, and I had to go and train legs one day, and went into the gym, and I loaded the squat bar up, and I started squatting, and everyone was looking at me like I had 6 fingers on my hand, like, what the hell are you doing? Because no one squats there. All they do is leg press there. It's amazing. So I unfortunately, it is iron debate. I really want to disagree, but I can't disagree. I got to agree with those two guys. West Coast bodybuilders do not train as hard as East Coast. And I don't think it's because they have less drive or enthusiasm. I just think that it's like a whole culture out there. Everyone's too high on life and marijuana, and no one wants to get under a squat bar. No one wants to do bent over barbell rows heavy there. And it's just not something you do there. That's why the men's physique division is flourishing out there.
Well, I want to give Dave you the chance to now talk about New York bodybuilders. We talked about Boston. I'm sure many from New York, a large scene, are watching right now. Our good friend Akeem Williams certainly as well. What are your thoughts on the New York bodybuilding scene?
I think you said Dave. I think you meant to say Jose.
I meant Dave. No, I meant you.
Oh, me. Okay.
You're from New York.
I know. Well, I Johnny didn't switch the camera, so I thought maybe I wasn't supposed to be speaking. The New York scene is the hardest core bodybuilders I see it. And you know what? You go to Bev Francis on a weekend, and it's like one person after the other. Those bars get so much use there. I've seen Akeem Williams squatting with Juan Morel, 7 plates, 7 45-pound plates on each side, no belt, no knee wraps. I've seen 800-pound deadlifts off the floor. I've seen Akeem Williams do it. I know De La Rosa trains hard. It's just go there. You'll see guys that you don't even know who they are lifting heavy. Max Charles lifts ridiculous, like he barbell curls like 315, like the old Pelleccia days. Guys just like to train heavy. And you know what? If you go look at the best physiques now in the men's bodybuilding pro division, those are the guys that train the heaviest. Akeem Williams, Juan Morel, Justin Compton. I mean, these guys put Johnny Jackson, Branch Warren. These are the guys that are still pumping max weights. And you know what? It shows on their physiques. The guys that are doing these little pump workouts out in California, yeah, they might have nice shape, but they're not adding mass every year. I'd love to see Rodin put 10 pounds of muscle on. We got to get him out of that Venice Gold's gym, and we got to send him out to Mike Francois, right, Chris?
I'll have to be crucified at Mike Francois, no pun intended. That was a religious innuendo.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for this topic. We're going to step aside. When we come back, we're going to talk about the disparity in prize money between the 212 division and the open division. Is it too much of a disparity, and what can be done to bridge the gap? Again, if you have any questions or want to get involved in the conversation, tweet your questions using hashtag RXDebate. We'll be back on RXMuscle.com.
New Breed Nutrition, we don't train to lose.
Hey guys, Dave Palumbo here. Listen, you guys know me. You know that I don't represent companies or products that I don't absolutely believe in, or actually use myself. Integrity has always been a priority for me, which is why I want you to check out myoatmeal.com. I'm sure you already know how important oatmeal is for your performance in the gym, as well as for your physique. But you might not know this. Oatmeal doesn't have to be boring. That's why I want you to stop what you're doing right now and go directly to myoatmeal.com. I'm not joking when I tell you that myoatmeal.com is life-changing for bodybuilders. Where myoatmeal.com shines is in their unique manufacturing concept. Every order they make is customized and handmade for you, exactly as you want. First, you select what kind of oats you want. There are actually 6 kinds to choose from. Next, you pick from over 50 amazing flavors, like cake batter, banana bread, red velvet cake, and pumpkin spice. All sugar-free and contest prep friendly. Next, you get to add dried fruits, nuts, seeds, quinoa, or even PB Lean, which is a dehydrated peanut butter powder that myoatmeal.com sells on their website. If you guys are really serious about nutrition, you really need to do yourself a favor and check out myoatmeal.com. I'm telling you, this company will change your life forever.
Legend and God, and my friend, Billy Flames.
How you doing, Gatsby?
Today we're going to be making some double chocolate chunk taquitos. Does that sound interesting?
Oh, that sounds really good. This is great. Hey guys, it's Dave Palumbo, and I'm happy to announce that we have a brand new release from Species Nutrition. It's called Protolize. It's the world's best quality, best tasting whey protein isolate fueled protein pudding on the market. Now, we all know that we love pudding. We grew up eating pudding as kids, but the Jell-O brand pudding that we ate was usually loaded with sugar and milk and all kinds of stuff that really was not good for us. But I created the first pudding that you can actually eat while contest dieting. It's got virtually no carbs, virtually no fat, and it's got a whopping 30 grams of protein. Like I said, it's called Protolize, and what makes it so significant is that you take 1 serving of this, put it in your little bowl here, add 2 ounces of water, mix, and you have instant pudding, vanilla and delicious chocolate. This chocolate pudding is better than Jell-O brand pudding. I guarantee you, you will love the taste. There is absolutely no aftertaste. And what I did was, to give it a little extra body, we put a little micellar casein into the mix to thicken it up, but also what it does is it makes this Protolize protein pudding time released. Now, when we're dieting and we don't want our food to go through us too fast, but we want it to sustain us a little bit, give us a little bit of satiety so we're not as starved, we put in this casein and it delays the absorption of the protein long enough to hold you between meals. You eat this, serving this right before bed, and I'm telling you, you will not be hungry during the night. And I also promise you this will be the best tasting protein pudding that you've ever put into this mouth. No aftertaste. You can't even tell that it's artificially sweetened, and there's not a single gram of sugar in this thing. So guys, if you're looking for a high quality whey protein isolate fueled, not soy, there's no soy in this product, protein pudding, and you're looking for that snack to hold you over, or maybe, you know what, maybe you're trying to bulk up and you just need something that tastes different. You don't want to have another protein shake that's going through you. You want something with a little body. You take 1 scoop of this, or if you're a big guy, you do 2 scoops and you'll get 60 grams of protein in your protein pudding. You mix it up and you got it ready to eat, and I got to tell you, this is delicious. I think I outdid myself on this one.
And I am.
On RXMuscle.com, we are joined by Jose Raymond, joining us live from his home in Boston, Massachusetts. Dave Palumbo in studio with me, and of course, Chris, the technician, Aceto. We move on now to our third subject. Again, if you want to get involved in the conversation, if you have any questions, tweet your questions using the hashtag RXDebate. Or you can join us, of course, in the Muscle Central Forum on RXMuscle.com. It is free to register. Our next question: the disparity between the 212 division and the open division in prize money. In this past Olympia, the overall prize money for the open division, $675,000. In the 212, $65,000. Jose, we're going to go to you first on this. What are your thoughts on the disparity in the overall prize money between 212 and open division before we get on to, I guess, solutions for this situation?
I think it's time. You know, at first it was new and we had to prove ourselves, and we've done just that and then some. If anyone who was there at the 212 prejudging, that building was rocking. It was loud as hell. I mean, I get goosebumps watching the video and how loud the fans were. And the fans have spoken. They love the 212s. You know, out of the top 6, we had better conditioning, top to bottom, in the top 6 than the Open did. And it's time. You know, we have a great fan base, and we're bringing fans. And, you know, this year I looked at the schedule. There's 13 212 shows this year. So promoters are seeing that they can make money from it too. So it's time that we get paid for some of that as well.
Chris Aceto, let's go over to you for this one. Is the disparity too big? Are 212 competitors not getting paid enough?
Well, I got my calculator here. And I took Jose's weigh-in weight, which was 210, and I divided it by Phil Heath's weight, which is probably 238, even though he probably claims 252 or something ridiculous. So Jose's weighs 88% of, or 12% less than Phil Heath, and 12% less, or 12% less of Phil Heath's $250,000 would be $220,000 first prize for the 212s.
Yeah, actually did the
So
math.
if you do it on that mathematical formula I just made up, as a percentage of body weight, then the prize money should come up to $220,000 for first prize. The question is the prize money too little? What's first prize? What's Flex get for all those firsts that he never gets anything but firsts? What's he get for first?
Well, in 2013, I believe it was 20,000, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was 25. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, but it was in that range for 2014.
It was more this year. About 35,000 or 40,000 even.
Yeah. I have to ditch the debate portion for the first time because the problem is me and Jose, we think a lot alike. Jose will tell you that, and that's an East Coast thing, right, Jose? Is that an East Coast thing
Absolutely.
or what?
Without question.
So I really have to say that the 212 guys should be paid more. Where that money comes from, I don't really care. I'm just saying that they should be paid more. I don't ask where the 250 comes from. First prize for the Open. I don't know why it has to be 250 for first prize because Phil's going to show up anyway, even if it was 220 or 210 or 190 or 180, 170. So, what's Bikini get for first prize?
Don't have that answer, but Jose, I want to go back over to you now. Just as far as, again, we talk about a bracket and we talk about the relative infancy of this division. How much do you think that plays into it? Just the newness of the 212 division and the overall grand scheme, and what other factors do you think there are for this disparity?
Well, we're on. It's been 7 years now, so the newness should be thrown out the window.
Jose, go ahead.
I
knew you were going to latch on to newness. Go ahead.
The newness is nonsense. And we have bona fide superstars, Flex Lewis, among a host of other people that people are paying to come and watch. And it's garbage. They're doing it because they're getting away with it. There's a minimum amount, I believe, the IFBB is set up for 212 shows. That's not the Arnold and the Olympia, but regular shows, which is $6,000 total. So I can tell you right now, I will not be throwing my hat into the ring of a show for possibly winning $3,000. Calling it a pro, a big, win to win $3,000. That has to change. The minimum has to go up. And a lot of promoters are making good money because they're putting together a pro-am. They have Bikini and 212, where combined they're only paying out, $12,000 in prize money. Where if they had an open show, I believe the minimum is $15,000 or even more, $20,000. So it has to change. They have to go up, or you're not going to get the quality in the show that you want.
Chris,
because I'm not showing up. Flex isn't showing up. I know David Henry, Eduardo. People like Eduardo, certainly it'll cost him $3,000 to fly here. He ain't going to do that,
Chris, let's go back over to you. What is the solution to this? Or is it just a natural progression to the point where, again, the demand for the 212 division is at some point going to dictate a higher compensation for winners?
Well, I think I think when you start having more like this year, 212 shows, and people showing up to see the guys in the shows, that by definition, because there's more, and there's meaning there's more shows, there's the avenue to create, quote, more stars in the division. And you would think that there would be the support there in terms of prize money to support the 212s. Listen, when the 212s started, everyone thought it was kind of like a joke, like Men's Fitness. And the first year it was kind of weak. You know what I mean? There were really, there are a couple good people, 4 or 5 good people. But now, you know what? If you go to a 212, you know this. If you go to a 212 show these days, you better be out of your mind in shape, because if you show up not in shape, you are out of your mind. Because it's and we know this. If you go to another show that's a men's professional bodybuilding show and it's not 212, our expectation is 3 guys are going to look great and everyone else is going to look like trash. By comparison to what shows up in a 212 show. And you can point out, for example, that Belto Abispor, he's a great bodybuilder, right? I mean, Absolutely. He's a 212 guy. He's what? I don't know, 5th at the Olympia. He barely made it to the Olympia, meaning it took him all year to get the points or to nail it enough to, my client, Derek Farnsworth, he's 111 pounds. But he squats, according to Jose, 500 for like 50 reps. He was ahead of Belto after prejudging at the last qualifier before the Mr. Olympia, 212 Olympia. And the reason I say that, aside because Derek's listening, and to hype him up and remind him he was beating Belto, is to point out the depth of the 212. And I think it's really, I agree with Jose. I was at the 212 prejudging, and it was like pandemonium during the prejudging. That's how loud it was. The announcer, the head judge, Steve Weinberg, really had to scream through the microphone to get people, because to be able to make his voice audible to the guys on stage, because it was so amped up, for the important call outs. So I'd love to see the prize money go up for everybody, to be politically correct, bikini and semi-bikini and men's physique and all those things, but men's bodybuilding and 212s especially, because I think the 212 is evolving to be a real battleground that, we don't know at these shows who's going to win. You really have to compare them because there's so many different types of physiques within the division.
Dave, let's bring you into this conversation to have a final word. The prize money in the 212 division, is it too low?
Well, of course it is. I mean, let's face it. I mean, bodybuilding is bodybuilding. I mean, men's bodybuilding is the sport. I mean, yeah, you got bikini and you got figure and fitness and women's physique. And look, I'm not biased on the sense of sex, but let's face it, 90% of the people who watch bodybuilding, it's to see the men's bodybuilding division. And you know what? I think, and I hate to say this because I know there's only a limited amount of money. Look, Robin Chang at the Olympia only has so much money he can give out to each division. I don't think the men's open needs to go up in prize money at this point. I think it's a pretty healthy pot that they got out there, although maybe some of the lower placing guys can get a little bit more money. But I think it's a pretty decent pot. I'd like to see that money, instead of going into the open division, to raise that money and create like this hype, what they've been doing. Put it into the 212. The truth of the matter is that I would take some of the money out of the women's divisions. I know this is going to be real controversial, and I'd give it to the 212 guys because that's what's selling tickets. I got news for you. You might have fans, who like to watch figure and bikini and stuff like that, and that might be more mainstream in the sense that more people who are watching can be able to relate to those divisions. But let's face it, people watch bodybuilding because they want to see muscle and gnarly conditioning and freaky-looking guys on stage. And the 212 guys are just as freaky and just as impressive as the open guys in their own right. So, if you want the division to be healthy, the prize money should be good. I mean, I know what Jose has to spend to get ready for a show between food and supplements and travel and not being able to work a real job. I mean, that's an expensive sport. When it's all said and done, I guarantee he doesn't really make that much money at the end of the year as people may think. And these prize pots at the big shows should be something that if an athlete wins, they should be able to survive the whole year on, and that's just not the case at this point.
Dave, what do you think is the natural evolution as far as the overall pot, as far as the overall winnings, given that this division is now really starting to mature where it's breeding the star power that it takes to command a higher compensation?
I think we need to get some really good publicists. I've seen some publicists sign some Hollywood movie stars that have been down and out. I mean, if Lindsay Lohan can get work nowadays, I don't see why we can't get a publicist who can get big sponsors like Nike and Adidas and Reebok and Coke, and I don't care if you go to Miller Beer, get them to sponsor these bodybuilding events, and guess what? You'll have a hell of a lot more money to give away in prize money. I'm sure if Nike or Pepsi decided to sponsor, the Olympia, they wouldn't want $200,000 to be going to Phil Heath and $10,000 to go to Jose Raymond. They'd want to see $1 million go to Phil Heath, and they want to see the 212 guy get $500,000. That's impressive, and they have that kind of money. So until we get these big time sponsors, the prize money will never be in the stratosphere. I know Arnold would love to see $1 million, in prize money one day, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think the supplement companies have enough cash or are willing to fork over that much money to make that happen.
Jose, that's a very, very interesting point, and I wanted to get a quick reaction out of you, what Dave just said. Does the sport, and when we're talking about the money going to the 212 prize winners, does the sport need those kind of outside, high-end kind of sponsors that maybe do not exist at this moment?
Yeah, that would be nice, but that ain't going to happen. You're not going to have Nike or Reebok or anything getting anything to do with bodybuilding. But I would like to say real quick that the Miss Olympia has been canceled. Am I wrong there, Dave?
It seems like you're right. That's what it seems like.
Okay, where's that money going to go? I'd like to taste some of it.
I'll lose my press passes if I say where that money's going.
Well, we don't know. This is all speculation. I can speculate, right?
Yeah.
If it's canceled, then there's some money freed up. So bring it on, baby.
I will say one thing. Let me just say one thing, because it is very expensive. I understand with these new divisions they brought in, which is great for the sport. It grows it. It's expensive to fly these people in and put them up in hotels for the Olympia. So I do understand, why they probably got rid of the Miss Olympia, because they feel it's not enough of a draw, and they'd rather take that money and have it available, to help people, bring people in and pay the expenses. What the truth is? I have no idea what the profits on the Olympia are. I have to believe that it's pretty good, because I see that Orleans Arena gets really packed in there. But, I understand also that AMI has to make money when it's all said and done, because that's what the Olympia is about. If they lost money, then it wouldn't even be worth doing. So I know it sounds, to keep saying we're never going to get big-time sponsors in bodybuilding, if we keep thinking that, we're never going to get big-time sponsors. That's the bottom line. We have to change our thinking model and hire some very creative. Let's get Donald Trump on the wagon, on the payroll here. Hire someone like him. Hire a world-class publicist to get big advertising behind bodybuilding. It can be done. Believe me. People are still sponsoring cycling after Lance Armstrong lost his 7 Tour de France's. There's drugs in every sport, and it doesn't seem to affect, who's advertising those sports. So I think it can happen if you have the right person pushing it.
That's going to bring us now to our next topic of debate. And again, this is really the reason why we're all here tonight. When we announced on the Muscle Central forum at RXMuscle.com that we are going to be featuring Jose Raymond on Iron Debate, the first question and about the second, third, fourth, fifth question that was asked is whether or not he's still with MD. Isn't he with MD? How could he be doing shows with RX Muscle if he's with MD? Well, reality is MD parted ways with Jose and many other athletes, and now this is starting to usher in a new conversation. It's a conversation that's been creeping about, but now it is at a front. With MD, clearly there's a reason why they have to do that. Advertising revenues are down, times are tough, and that ushers in this question. Jose, I'm going to go to you first on this one. Is this the beginning of the end for print magazines as we know it?
I don't know 100%, but I appreciate the opportunity to state my case here and explain to all the fans of what is going on, because people are like, oh, maybe Jose left for more money. Oh, Jose was fired. The fact is my contract was up in May. We did not renew any contract, but I was continuing to get paid up through the Olympia. And then I just received a letter of
FedEx.
Yeah, exactly. That I'm not being renewed, and that they wish me luck and blah blah blah. So that was all it was. It was not a firing per se. It was a non-renewal. That was it. But it's great, and now I get to be here and this is fun to me. I get to do a lot more different things and expand my fan base and reach a lot more people, where I was kind of hamstrung. I wasn't able to do any interviews. After the last few shows I didn't do any interviews. I placed well or won, didn't interview with anyone. And fans want to know how you're feeling, what happened, and I didn't get to do that. So now, whether it's RX or it's anyone else, I get to expand my brand and reach a lot more other people. Now, back to your question, is at the end, I think it's been heading that way for a while. I think I mentioned that in the email. I think Hugh Hefner's feeling it, when you can click on your computer and look at tits and ass all day long, why do you need to pay $8 to buy the magazine? And that's kind of where it's heading. Now we can interact with your favorite athletes online and look at pictures on Facebook and Instagram. I can see all that stuff. I can see it. It's almost up to the minute. I don't have to wait a month to get a magazine. So yeah, I think print magazines are, I don't know if they're dead completely, but it looks like, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, it's not where it was 10 years ago, that's for sure. So it's not getting better, it's getting worse. And in this world, if you're not moving forward, you're going backwards.
Strong words out of the Boston Mass. Look at that up there, Dave. Break this one down.
That's Johnny's favorite picture to post on whether it be Muscle in the Morning or on every radio show we do. That was a photo shoot that Kai Green did in, I think, New York City, and there was like a guy dressed as Spider-Man running around, and we got him on Kai's shoulder. I think Per Bonnell took that picture, and when they took his mask off, it turned out it was Steve Blackman under there, actually. And
so that's a real picture?
I didn't know this.
It looks photoshopped.
No, that's a real picture.
Amazing.
I didn't realize that Steve Blackman running around Manhattan, dressed as Spider-Man on the weekends, but evidently that's the case. So that was
Chris, we're gonna go over to you now. Given the state of obviously with MD having to part ways with so many athletes, Jose included, and again, times are tough. Advertising revenues are down. Your analysis on print magazine and really where things stand as far as this industry is concerned.
Well, I have to say, Sid, I'm kind of an expert. You see, I live in Maine, and there's more trees here than probably any other state, and we are the paper-making capital of the United States. We make a lot of paper. And what's happening is there's two types of factories. There's the factory for print that makes paper for print magazine, and they're all shutting down. So that answers your question. And then there's the toilet paper making factories, and they're still staying and running strong.
They'll be fine.
So print is going down the toilet, no pun intended, while the toilet paper
Nice.
companies are still running strong. I've been telling Dave for, listen, I was with Flex for 15 years. 15 years. And I got axed by, except unlike Jose, I just had to figure it all out. I couldn't even get a letter from anyone. I just got Alan Donnelly pretending that he was firing me when he didn't have the guts to call me and fire me directly. So, I just had to figure it out. Geez, I guess I'm nobody's asking me for articles and I'm not getting checks. So after 15 years, I guess this is how it works out. So I knew the writing was on the wall then, and it's Kodak film. Where are they these days? Telephones on around. There's a lot of things that we thought would never go away that are no longer with us, and I think that if we can only trick ourselves and pretend that print media is going to make some type of comeback.
Chris, rather Jose, you brought up a point in describing your situation, obviously formerly of MD and now here on RXMuscle.com. Really, in the grand scheme of things, is this a good thing for the sport? Where now RX Muscle, the community, fans, really there's a wider reach for you, for other athletes who may be available from a media contract. Is this a kind of a thing that is actually going to be good for the sport going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not getting that check every month, guaranteed. But aside from that, I have a lot more opportunities. There's a lot more fun for me to be had. Where before, I'm saying no to radio shows and different interviews almost once a week. And, that gives me way more opportunities. And if I can parlay that into income, then yes, it's definitely a good thing for me. For bodybuilding and for the fans that want to hear me or see more of me, it's definitely a good thing. So yeah, I think it's good as long as I am able to make something positive of this, and I'm sure I can. It's all new. I only got the letter yesterday, so it's time will tell. But I'm very positive. I'm very happy, and moving forward. I'm not sitting wallowing about it. I thanked Steve and MD for 4 years of great opportunities, and that's all I can do is move forward. Be happy with what's to come.
Let's go to Dave now for the final word on this subject. Dave, print magazines, is it the beginning of the end as we know it?
Well, print magazines are actually an anachronism in our today's society. They don't belong there. They're not there. I mean, look at Muscular Development magazine. Steve Wennerstrom gave me a good. He's a statistics man, and he said over the summer, I think their magazine. When I was there, it was 525 pages or 550 pages. Over the summer, I think they were down to 244. 2 months ago, they were at 177 pages, and this past month they were, I think, down to 164 pages. So you can't print a magazine if there's no advertising, and people don't see the value in advertising in magazines anymore. Rightly so, because no one reads them. Why are you going to read something that's old? There's nothing you're going to get in a magazine. The only good magazine out there that I subscribe to still is Discover magazine, because I like the science articles, and those don't get dated. But in a magazine where you're having results of things and you're giving dated information, like Jose said, you go to the internet and in 3 seconds you get what you want. So there's no reason to do that. In defense of I always said that no athlete should be exclusive, and I think that Jose, while he might not be getting a paycheck from Bleckman every month now, he will find that he's going to have a lot more people contacting him for celebrity type stuff in the real world, because now people are going to see him more. People watching this show, we get, 70,000 people watching this show. A lot of people are going to see Jose and like his personality, and he's going to have much more opportunities, given this. I just said this is good for the sport, I believe. And I just, there is no such thing as an exclusive contract anymore. Unfortunately, if I'm a magazine like Steve Bleckman paying Jose to be exclusive, I want him exclusively, but there's no such thing as exclusive anymore, because, you have NPC News Online that can interview anyone they want, anytime they want. So Steve really doesn't have exclusivity anymore. Really, it's just exclusionary to RX Muscle. We don't have Jose, but everyone else has him. Generation Iron has him. NPC News has him. So it doesn't serve its purpose anymore. These athletes really should be open and available to everyone. And the magazine should just pay the athletes if they want to do a photo shoot. If Steve Bleckman wants to shoot Jose, they should pay Jose money. And you know what? Jose, in the long run, may make more, because he could get paid by Flex, he could get paid by MD, he could get paid by whoever else wants to shoot the guy to use him. and that's more, that's more, I guess, more intelligent way to handle it in today's society, internet society. Also, I want to say, while people are not advertising in magazines, I think a lot of these supplement companies are not advertising online, which I don't understand why they're not. This is where the people are. This is where the fans are. This is where the people who buy supplements are. People who, I would say, if the 70,000 people who are watching this show tonight live or maybe in rebroadcast, probably 90% of those people use supplements. If you're going to advertise online. Fund that. Fund, RXMuscle, fund Muscle Development, fund Flex Magazine, fund NPC News, because that's where the people are watching and going, and you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck because people go to these websites 24 hours a day. And you know how I know that? Because I get emails from people saying, "Where's the results? Where's the replay?" And they send it to me at 4 a.m. So it's not like a magazine. This is a full-time commitment people make to these websites, and I think it's for the better. Change is for the better in this circumstance.
So, Dave, off that passionate set of points, is it the beginning of the end for these exclusive contracts?
I think it is. I don't think that these magazines can afford to do it anymore because they're not making enough money. If Steve Bleckman, who's has a lot of money, from the sale of Twin Lab and former, investments he's made, he can't afford to keep these athletes. No one can. And we know AMI can't afford to. So, while they may keep the Mr. Olympia or the top 1 or 2 guys, I think most of the contracts are going to go out the window. And like I said, it's good for the athletes. These athletes don't know it because it's an easy paycheck, but in the long run, they'll benefit, especially guys like Jose that have such a good personality.
Well, that's going to do it for the debate portion of the show. We now move ahead to the question and answers, and we've been getting them all week long. Again, if you want to chime in last second, you can tweet using the hashtag RXDebate. We're going to go to our first Twitter question. This one is from @Corey Swigors. My apologies if I mispronunciated that name. The first question is, what's the one area, Jose, of your physique that you're still looking to improve?
Hi, Corey. Thanks. I know who Corey is. He's up there in Vancouver. My chest. It's still the weakest part of my body. I got big arms, big shoulders, big back, and big legs. And I still got a relatively flat chest compared to... It's come up. It's gotten better, but I want my chest to be better, and believe it or not, you can always have better conditioning. So those are the two things, chest and conditioning.
Well, let's get a quick thought from Chris. What do you think of your assessment on area of Jose's physique that he needs to improve in 2015?
Yeah, chest. I mean, what are you going to say? His legs got to be better, or his back? I guess chest and the other would be possibly, you can never have you can never be short on density in the back. You know what I mean? In terms of just a lot of pop. So I guess that would be back thickness. And then, of course, conditioning. We always, meaning we, any bodybuilder, everyone tries to bring something special to the table. And when you have the amount of muscle that Jose has and the density that he has and the graininess that he has, if he can bring in a condition that, which I expect him to bring at the Arnold, that people have never seen on him before, then that's a recipe for disaster for the competition.
Dave, let's get a thought from you on not only, I guess, an area of Jose's physique, but just overall his overall training, what you would like to see as he prepares for 2015.
I have one thing I want to say, and I think that everyone out there is going to agree with me. First of all, Jose doesn't need any more muscle in his body, and his conditioning this year has been the best I've ever seen it, so I think he's got that down pat. I would like to see him go back to hitting those vacuum poses.
Oh, I knew Dave was going to say that.
He hit earlier
Dave loves
in his
it.
career. Oh, it made, I think it made everything that you feel is not strong about your physique look that much better. And I think that you got to go back to, get off your lazy butt and start practicing that vacuum. And I want to see the double bicep and all the crazy vacuums you do in your physique, in your routine.
Jose, this one is from the RX Forum, the Muscle Central Forum on RXMuscle.com. what are your goals business-wise for 2015?
The business of kicking ass and winning the Arnold. I've had a business for over 20 years. I've been a personal trainer, and I'm very busy. I take on just as many clients as I can right now. I really can't take on much more because of what I do and my commitments to iForce and the amount of traveling that I do. So just keep working hard and getting better at everything I do.
Well, what about your, and I think the other part of that question would be your media goals. Now that you are more free to talk to us, talk to RXMuscle.com, and really expand your brand, how do you see that playing out over the next 6 to 8 months?
Well, if Dave isn't too cheap, he can send someone up here to video me. And, I'm not shy. I'll love to do a lot of training videos and lifestyle videos. And, we'll get a lot of action on those boards here. I did probably over 50 videos for muscular development over the course of the last 4 years. 50 videos. And I'm not afraid to do them. I have a gym that is very supportive of me and loves me filming the videos there. So I'm all for it. I want to be very active. My videos get a lot of hits, and it really allows me to reach the fans in a way that I can't any other way. They get to see what I'm like and see what my training is like, and I'm a complete clown on the videos, and they get to see that I'm just a regular dude, not some pompous ass.
Well, Dave, we are going to be featuring Jose Raymond on the upcoming Bros versus Pros.
We had Jose at Bros vs. Pros 3. We're up to 22 now. That tells you how long we haven't been able to use Jose for. And I think he was a week out from a show, and he even went and trained in the morning, and then he won Bros vs. Pros. He squatted 405 30 times. And which is a record in Bros vs. Pros, and he blew everyone out of the water there, so to speak. And so we're excited. The John Kemper Memorial Bros vs. Pros is the third year we do it at Diamond Gym on December 13th. That's Saturday, December 13th in Maplewood, New Jersey. And I know Jose had already told us that he'd be I actually told Chris Aceto that he'd be interested in doing that, so we're going to get him down there to do that. But yeah, you know what? Jose's been filmed 50 times with MD, but it's the same video every time they film him because it's too boring. When we send Johnny Styles up there to film Jose Raymond, that will be a training video that I guarantee you no one has ever seen.
Yeah, 3 chicks.
Yeah, you'll have naked girls spotting you and everything, Jose. But so we'll have a much more broader appeal. Maybe we get the porn industry to actually start sponsoring some bodybuilding shows. Then we'll get some money in there, right?
Oh, wait a second. Now you're in trouble.
She says
now you're in trouble, Dave.
I think. Tell us how much you love your girlfriend.
Huh?
Tell us how much you love your girlfriend.
I love her to pieces. She's here right next to me, so that was just a joke because I know Johnny Styles' background and where he mastered his expertise in the art of film.
We are Hollywood, exactly, Hollywood. That's where Johnny Styles, our amazing director of production, honed his skills.
That's
we'll
right.
Move on to the next question. Jose, this is a really good question. It's from a RX Muscle Central forum member. It's all genetics. He's interested in knowing what motivated you, what pushed you so hard to do all the shows that you did in 2014, flying around the world, and then coming back to the U.S., going to the Europa Phoenix and winning a first overall in the 212. Was it to claim a first-place victory? Was it the prize money? Or were you pushed by your sponsor? What was your motivation for flying around, then coming back and taking gold in Phoenix?
It was all of those things. I wanted to win because I felt like I won something along the road from Vegas to Korea to Prague. I felt like I had an empty spot in my heart. I felt like I won something, but I didn't really. So I talked to Chris, and I'm like, I feel great, man. I'm like, if we hold out 2 more weeks, I can go do Phoenix. And he's like, well, send me pictures. That's his answer to everything. So I sent him pictures. He's like, okay, let's go win this, And then that was it. I felt confident I felt healthy. You know, if I felt beat up, really beat up, I would have called it a day. But I felt good. You know, I don't know why, but I did. And I also carried around this chip on my shoulder for an entire year because I placed 7th in Phoenix last year. I had no business placing 7th in that show. And, you know, it just ate at me the entire year. And lo and behold, I had an opportunity. I was in shape. I'm like, let me go back and obliterate this show and just erase that awful memory from my mind. And that's exactly what I did. I went in there with arguably my best conditioning ever. And, you know, in my mind, there wasn't anyone close. So it felt good. It was a great way to end the year with a bang and give me confidence going into the Arnold Classic, where I know I can win that.
That was going to be the next question, this piggybacking on that set of questions. Your mindset now going into 2015, is there anything you feel like you're going to do differently? What is going to be your approach heading into the 2015 season?
Well, last year I took a long break, well, not long break, but I got really fat after the Phoenix show. And we legitimately got ready for the Arnold Classic in about 7 weeks. And I was peeled. My conditioning was nuts. But we had done it so fast that I was smaller. You know, I was only about 204, 205, something like that. And it was about a good 5 pounds lighter than I should have been. And this time around, I'm not going to get any fatter than I already am. I'm still lean. I'm more just bloated. We've already started cleaning things up. And I'm going to go into it, you know, like business. In the past, I've always relied on great genetics to get in shape. And now this is my business. I'm not going to be doing this forever. My time is now. So I'm treating it as such. And, you know, as Chris said, we got a lot on the line, too much on the line to dick around. So I'm going balls to the wall, and I plan and intend on winning and being the Arnold Classic champion.
Jose, sticking to 2014, we have a question from the live stream chat room. Now, you won in Phoenix, but the question is, where do you feel like you looked the best? At the Olympia, at Prague, or in Korea?
It's a great question. They were all different looks. And this is going to sound crazy because I placed 3rd, but I think in Prague,
I agree, Jose.
David mentioned the vacuum. I had the craziest vacuum in Prague. For some reason, I was able to hit it, and it was like really deep. My belly button was touching my spine. And there are some pictures floating around out there of me hitting a front double that was completely nuts. And that was the look I liked. It made my legs look bigger. It made my upper body look bigger. So I was really comfortable hitting shots. I think that was my best look to date. And oddly enough, I ended up in a controversial 3rd after being put back in line. First call out, they say, Jose and Flex back in line. Then I end up with straight 3rds. I've never seen that happen in my life.
Well, Roden was 3rd.
But I've only been competing for 22 years,
that
so I
should
might
tell
not
you
know
something.
much.
I don't know what it tells you, but
Yeah.
let me interject as we're talking called blue collar talk, straight talk. Roden was 3rd, and you were 3rd.
Yeah.
And I thought Roden looked better there than he did at the Olympia.
He did.
I thought I did too.
Jose, here's another really good question. This is one's going to put you on the spot. This is from our live stream chat room. If you were a judge, did you have Eduardo beating Flex at the Olympia?
Yeah. I had us both beating him, honestly. But here's something crazy. I had myself beating Eduardo. So yeah, I think we were both much harder than him, much crazier than him. And when, let's face it, it's not men's physique. It's not a pretty contest. It's a freaky bodybuilding contest. And we don't have the ugliest aesthetics. We're just not Flex Lewis. He's got a great physique. But there's other things to be considered. And we were both gnarly looking. And when I consider, so if you're going to judge aesthetically and pretty, then I should be in front of Eduardo then. Because he's got smaller legs. He's, one of his arms was a little off. This is just being devil's advocate. I love the guys. I love both of them. But, I had Eduardo beating him on conditioning and muscularity. And I had me beating Eduardo, so what's that tell you? But you could make an argument for everyone.
Now, again, we talked about the fact that you're here with us now on RXMuscle.com and really exposing yourself to our community and really to a much broader audience. Now we're going to start to get some questions where we really get to know you. And another question from the live stream chat room. What is your favorite beer?
It's pumpkin ale. You see that? It's really good. It's 7% alcohol. So it's a really good beer.
Now, be honest, how many have you had during this episode?
This is my second one. It just opened. Brand new.
So, Jose, we actually got another really good one. This one from the Muscle Central forum at RXMuscle.com. And you talked about your roots, of course, very proud of your Bostonian roots. Growing up, who were your favorite bodybuilders? Who did you look up to and why?
It sounds corny, but my older brother, Tito Raymond, he had the most amazing aesthetics. His skin tone, his muscles look like they were fake. To a young kid, he's 6 years older than me. I never wanted to look like Sean Ray or Flex Wheeler. I wanted to look like my brother. That guy was unbelievable. And then, as I got more and more into bodybuilding and started seeing Lee Priest and stuff like that, those were the ones that were crazy to me. I really liked a lot of the local guys too, like a Steve Cantone or Quadzilla, DeMeo. That was it, but mainly my brother. My brother was my first inspiration and motivation to get in. I just wanted to look like him.
We actually have a question from John Hansen, who is actually on the second episode of Iron Debate. John Hansen, Mr. Natural Olympia, wants to know, why are you so bundled up right now? Is it cold up there in Boston?
Yeah, it's very cold. And I'm cheap. I don't really have the heat on. So
He can't afford it anymore with no contract.
Right. Damn you, Blackman. I have to bundle up.
He's got a fire lit in the back, probably.
Yeah.
Campfire.
Yeah, it's Boston, man. He's just joking because he's down in Florida like a pansy. Natural Olympia, pansy bastard. I'll come down there and teach him how to train.
Now we're going to wrap this up. This is another strong question. This one coming from the RX Muscle Forum, Muscle Central. Again, it is free to register, Muscle Central at rxmuscle.com. In your career, as you have grown as a bodybuilder, as a competitor, what have you learned from Chris Aceto and Jay Cutler?
That's great. Jay, I've learned a lot about just being myself. Be a dude. Be a guy. Be a gentleman. First and foremost. I've always noticed, no matter how big, in popularity Jay was, he's still that dude I met when we were teenagers. He was still like really, really just cool. Calm, almost like he's funny. He's like goofy. Just a great dude. And I just love that about him. I always said, if fans want to talk to me or anything, I'll never act like it's a hassle. I'll be humble and appreciate it. As far as Chris has taught me to, trust the process and he's really saved me from myself. I'm an extremist in every sense of the word. I would do 2 hours on the step mill, and I would eat nothing but 2 rice cakes a day, and I'd build all this muscle in the off season only to eat it away. That's why I've managed to grow. I never thought in a million years I'd be competing over 200 pounds, and now, I'm competing at 210, and I imagine going into the Arnold, we're going to have trouble squeaking into 212. So, Chris is just a brilliant mind, and he's a great guy. People who don't know him, he's one of the quirkiest people I've ever met, but I must be quirky because I get him. And it's just taught me to, trust in it and not eat myself alive.
Chris, let's get a thought on you. As you've seen Jose develop throughout the course of his career to where he is now.
What's the question?
No.
No, I mean, what is the question?
Well, the question to Jose was what he learned from you. Let's get a thought from you as far as observations, seeing Jose develop as a competitor to where he is now.
Well, I think, I haven't known him for a long, long period of time, but what I can tell you about Jose is you get what you get. He's black and white. He says what's on his mind. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He's honest. He's extremely hardworking. He's not dumb. He's a realist. He's an asset to any company. When iForce signed him, the iForce owner came into a hotel room because I work with Dusty Hanshaw. And I said, you know what? I'm very opinionated, I told the iForce owner. Very opinionated. And you signed the absolute best possible guy you can sign. In terms of when he signed Jose Raymond. I said, because he'll be a strong asset to your company, because he's believable, he has a lot of fans, he's not fake, and if I had a company, I would want to be associated with someone like him and him associated with someone like me. What I've learned, what I think about his bodybuilding career is that I really think that Jose is capable of winning any show he sets his mind to, including this Arnold, including this Olympia. I think what you saw this year, he can build on that, and he can absolutely be better. I am 100% positive of that, and if I wasn't positive of that, I would have already told him, Jose, this is the best you're ever going to be, and don't expect to improve from here.
Dave, I want to get a thought from you as, again, the level of excitement you showed throughout the course of this week, having Jose Raymond on the show. I still remember the phone call, you picking up saying, great news, Jose is going to be on the show, and then explaining the process. Your thoughts as we now have Jose available to RXMuscle and, of course, the loyal fans on the Muscle Central forum on RXMuscle.com.
Well, I think it all goes back to the song from the beginning of the show, Can't Stop Believing, by Journey. I mean, that's Jose's favorite song, but the first time I saw him, he was a lightweight bodybuilder at Team Universe, and he won his class there, and I said, wow, this guy's going to be really good. Never thinking he'd be, like he said, competing over 200 pounds. He won the lightweight class. He won the welterweight class. As a matter of fact, he turned down a couple pro cards. He could have earned his pro card a few times, moved up to the middleweight class, finally, took the pro card. And I still didn't think he was going to be able to, be a real competitor in the IFBB because of his height and his weight. And he proved that he could, because he believes that he can. And, when I see him lifting in the gym and in his training workouts, and especially at Bros vs. Pros, that passion gets me ignited. I feel like I'm under that bar lifting with him. And on December 13th, hopefully we see him under that bar lifting again, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when you watch that live stream and you see him going last as the IFBB pro up there and beating all these guys, because he doesn't know how to lose. That's just not in his makeup and his DNA, and I respect that, because that's something that I can completely relate to. And I want to thank him for coming on the show tonight, and obviously I want to wish him the best of luck, and I know he's going to do fantastic with or without a contract. I think he's going to make a lot of money because people do like him.
So again, that Bros versus Pros episode is going to be December 13th. It's going to be at the Diamond Gym in Maplewood, New Jersey, and of course it's going to be live here on RXMuscle.com. That's going to do it for this great episode of Iron Debate. Many special thanks to all our members on the Muscle Central forum on RXMuscle.com. Special thanks to that man right there, Jose Raymond. Jose, thank you so much for coming on and introducing yourself to the RX Muscle community. Cheers to you too. And of course, special thanks to the man they call the technician, Chris Aceto. Excellent insight as always. And we'd be remiss not to mention our excellent director of production, Johnny Stiles. The replay available on RXMuscle.com. Thank you to Species Nutrition. We will see you next time on RN Debate right here on RXMuscle.com.
Thank you.
Okay, Dave. Okay, later.